Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So recently I have been doing a lot of product design case study mock interviews. So in that I've just covered like questions and then frame my answers as to how should I go about it. And I have been reached out like my multiple people कि कैसे मतलब how do you maintain such structure, how do you think about answering these questions in a live setting. So basically, there is a hack to it. I do not necessarily think about all of the questions in a very structured way. उसके लिए I always have like some framework in the back of my mind. So आज के वीडियो में I'll talk about the product design framework end to end, and maybe you can also use this framework to answer all of your product design, product sense interview questions. या फिर you can take some inspiration from it. It is not necessary that आप इसे copy paste कर लो, but you can suit yourself with what makes most sense to you. Okay, so with that, let's begin with the product design framework. So सबसे पहले क्या करना होगा? So पहले let's try to understand कि questions किस type के आते हैं. पहला एग्जांपल हो गया कि let's say Google asks how to design a fire alarm for the deaf. So this is basically a product design question. You are asked to design a product. Meta is asking how would you improve Instagram stories. So product design questions are not necessarily about creating or designing a product. Sometimes it could also mean just improving a product. So Instagram stories already a product exist कर रहा है, हमें उसको किस तरीके से improve करना है. We need to start thinking about it. First, let's say Spotify asks you how can we improve as a podcast app. So एक पैटर्न इसमें नोटिस कर सकते हैं कि ऑल ऑफ दीज क्वेश्चंस आर वेरी वेरी एम्बिगुअस एंड दीज आर वेरी वेरी हाई लेवल. मतलब इसका डायरेक्शन कहीं पर भी जा सकता है, एंड आई थिंक वही इंटरव्यूअर का गोल है. दे वांट टू टेस्ट यू कि आप किस तरीके से ऐसे सिचुएशंस को हैंडल कर सकते हैं. प्लस द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट इज कि दे डोंट वांट यू टू गेट एन आंसर टू द क्वेश्चन. मतलब 30 मिनट में आप क्या ही आंसर दे दोगे कि इंस्टाग्राम स्टोरीज को किस तरीके से इंप्रूव कर सकते हैं. देयर इज ऑलरेडी अ पीएम सिटिंग इन इंस्टाग्राम हु इज एक्चुअली इंप्रूविंग द प्रोडक्ट एंड दे आर टेकिंग इयर्स टू डू दैट. तो आप 30 मिनट्स में कोई रेवोल्यूशनरी चीज तो नहीं कर पाओगे. दे आर जस्ट ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आपका थॉट प्रोसेस क्या है. तो थॉट प्रोसेस को जानने के लिए द बिगेस्ट पॉइंट इज हाउ डू यू अप्रोच इट, लाइक हाउ डू यू पुट द स्ट्रक्चर फॉर इट. सो दिस इज द फ्रेमवर्क. So, सबसे पहले whatever question you are given, be it any random question, start with understanding or asking clarifying questions. कि what are the constraints? Like, am I supposed to think that there are some funding constraints, there are some engineering resource constraints? What are the existing constraints that I have? Second, what is the goal? Like, why do I want to improve Instagram stories? Why do I want to position Spotify as a podcast app? Focusing on the why is the most important thing that a product manager should be doing. So ask why. Ask why or the goal of this particular thing that you want to do. Then the last thing is scope. Ensure that product managers also get into a very defined scope. They don't bloat the scope as much. Try to narrow it down. Maybe, reduce the geography. Start with India, start with US, or maybe start with something very niche. So I think defining the scope and trying to narrow it down also makes a lot of sense. So clarifying questions is basically that section जहाँ पे आप questions के बारे में और ज़्यादा पूछ सकते हैं. How would you improve Spotify as a podcast app? If you don't know what podcast means, ask it. Ask anything that you feel is basic and don't feel that someone would judge you. Ensure that the clarifying questions are done. And again, the segment of the clarifying questions is to ensure that you clarify whatever questions you have in the first place. ठीक है. अब let's say हमने कुछ understanding badly, set कर ली. I want to do it for India. I know what stories mean. Stories में भी I could understand कि भाई stories 30 seconds के लिए होता है, 60 seconds के लिए होता है, कौन किसके लिए शेयर करता है. मतलब एक जनरल आइडिया होना चाहिए प्रोडक्ट के बारे में. और you can also upfront say कि मुझे नहीं पता, please explain. So once the goal and all of the clarifying questions are done, ensure that whatever goal you're trying to work with for the interview has to tie with the mission of the company. So why is that relevant or why is that important? Because you are trying to build or improve a product with the concept that there will be some business positive impact by whatever action you're going to take. Now, the company also has a high level mission that it wants to move towards. So, your product should eventually be like a synergy to that high level mission. अगर मेटा का mission is to connect people and bring everyone and make it like a good place, so Instagram stories का goal should also be accentuating that vision. So or mission. So ensure that your goal is very well aligned and you're just calling it out that okay, whatever I'm working on actually helps the company at a mission level, at a broader level. So that's second. Then you can talk about some competitor benchmarking. For example, maybe there is a podcast app already that exists. Spotify maybe उससे कुछ inspiration ले सकता है. What are the pros and cons of the competitors? If there are no competitors by any chance, you can also think कि क्या आज की डेट में वो प्रॉब्लम किसी तरीके से सॉल्व हो रहा है? If it is getting solved through whatever means. It could be even like an Excel. It could be even a radio, just as an example, from a podcasting perspective. So think of that and take that as an inspiration. Maybe you can understand कि okay, maybe we can learn something from our competitors or from some hacky ways that through which the problem is getting solved today, and use that to build features or build solutions to improve or design a product. Okay, so these are the first three sections. Do some clarifying questions, maintain that you define a goal, tie to the mission, and then do some competitor benchmarking. Now comes the most important or the meat of the product design interview: users and segmentation. So first of all, define all possible user personas. So कौन हो सकते हैं? For example, Instagram stories के केस में you could have a viewer like a consumer, or you could also have a creator. हमें Instagram story किसके लिए improve करना है वो हमें define करना पड़ेगा. So let's start with building all of the exhaustive list of users. You can do like a segmentation tree and it could be based on multiple parameters. For example, as I was saying, for Instagram you could have viewers and creators. Within viewers you could further break it down by age. For example, viewers of Instagram stories are, let's say, old age people, or there are also Gen Zs, just as an example, and maybe their behavioral reactions or there will be behavioral differences between how they interact with Instagram stories, and maybe they would have different types of problems. So that is like a further layer down within viewers. Or you could also say that there is frequency of viewership as a parameter. So someone like me does not really use Instagram stories very frequently, so I am like a low or a casual Instagram stories user. But there could also be, on the extreme side, that could also be like a power user जो हमेशा Instagram stories देखता रहता है, and then their problems might be different. So now, as you can see, we are sort of building like a user segmentation tree, and then we are trying to narrow down okay, who do I pick? And that is the next important thing. You need to pick one. You cannot say कि I will solve the problem for everyone. I'll basically solve or I'll improve Instagram stories for everyone. Yes, that is your long-term goal. Eventually, you want to do it for everyone. But for this interview, you have to pick one. How do you pick it? Now, you have to basically just say why this particular user persona has been picked by you. And you could say, my target addressable market, or basically the size of this user segment, is so big, so I can create a lot of impact by targeting this user segment. That could be one of your reasons. For example, Instagram stories के जो users है, maybe Gen Zs are more, in terms of size, Gen Zs are more in number of users versus, let's say, senior citizens. So this could be made as an argument. The second argument could be growing users. So even though, let's say, the today target addressable market is low, unka number low hai, but maybe they are probably the fastest growing user segment that you see. So you could say कि भले ही आज नंबर कम है लेकिन this is the growing base I want to target. तो मैं इसी को ही टारगेट करूंगा. This could also be your reason. The third one could be ability to reach. For example, जैसे I am building certain products and I know that I can create features or solutions that I can reach to these particular people. So अगर मैं उन तक पहुंच, even though let's say the target addressable market size is very very big, but I'm unable to reach them, I'm unable to cater to them, तो फिर वो point नहीं बनता है. तो you need to make sure that whoever you're trying to address actually are catered also or actually are reached also. So these could be some high level parameters of how you could determine which user persona to choose, and you also have to tell it explicitly in the interview why you are picking it. So this is users and segmentation. I'm also thinking to actually do a very detailed user segmentation video जिसमें हम parameters के बारे में discuss करेंगे कि कैसे करते हैं actually user segmentation और क्यों इसे ही pick करना है. So that would be a separate video, उसका एक strategy अलग से बनाएंगे, but this is the framework part. Next, अब let's say हमने एक user decide कर लिया. Let's say हमें Gen Z viewers को टारगेट करना है to improve the Instagram story stuff. For the user persona selected, let's determine 3 pain points or 3 problem statements. Once you list down the problem statements, again you have to choose one. हम बार-बार one इसलिए choose कर रहे हैं because I think that is probably one of the biggest skill sets of a product manager. Prioritize करना पड़ता है, and you also have to back it up with rationale. Like why are you picking that up? Always solve for impact. So let's say मैंने एक particular चीज pick कर ली as a problem statement. I need to state why. Now parameters could be multiple. So let's say वो problem statement जो है वो बहुत ज्यादा severe है. If I'm unable to solve it, वो मेरा user जो है परेशान हो जाएगा. They might churn out. I mean, it could be a business. There will obviously be a business impact associated with it. But let's say the severity of the pain is very very high. That could be one. The second could be prevalence of the pain. So prevalence of the pain is, let's say अगर 100 Gen Z users हैं, out of those 100, 90 are actually impacted by this problem. So it's prevalent. It's a widespread problem. तो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को ये problem spread रहेगी. तो it means if we solve for that problem, majority of our user base will be happy once we solve that problem. So that is second, prevalence. The third one is we are able to address the pain. हमारे पास भी ऐसे solutions या capabilities या resources या whatever होना चाहिए so that we can address the problem. This is also another parameter that yes, this problem is realistic enough and we are able to solve the problem. ऐसे कोई random problem नहीं चुनना है जिसको हम solve नहीं कर सकते, at least as of today. Then ensure that the pain point aligns with the goal. हमने याद है एक goal choose किया था starting में. You have to stick to that goal. Always do a call back to that goal. I'm choosing this user persona because it makes sense to the goal. I'm choosing this pain point because it makes sense and aligns with the goal. So these could be the reasons to pick one particular pain point. Now, let's say pain point decided. Up solutions. Next important part. For the pain point selected, again, let's do 3 solutions. 3 solutions and then again prioritize. You do not have to pick one, but then you are prioritizing and then essentially you are also picking the top one in a way. So prioritize करने के लिए again multiple, you have to again say why. Why did you prioritize यही वाला? So you can say भाई impact इसका बहुत ज्यादा है और effort relatively कम है. So impact versus effort का अगर हम ratio निकालें तो हम कम मेहनत करके ज्यादा impact को achieve कर पा रहे हैं. That could be a very big parameter to prioritize a solution. The second one is it actually solves the pain point. बड़ा basic, बड़ा silly सा है, but actually there are solutions that we build. It does not really solve the original problem statement that we had in the first place. It feels silly, but it is very very prevalent in today's world when we are moving at such a fast pace. So हो जाता है problem और solution का disconnect बैठ जाता है. You need to make sure that the solution that you have is actually solving the pain point that you yourself selected. वो दूसरे problems को solve नहीं करना चाहिए. And it achieves the goal. Again, बार बार गोल को टाई करना बहुत जरूरी है. Whatever goal you have decided, ensure that that goal is actually achieved with this particular solution. Okay, so I think the biggest aspects are covered. You chose the user, you chose the problem, and then you also defined solutions. And then before and after are more like, structural things to make it like more exhaustive and put that particular interview as a complete package. So now you need to make sure कि ये जो solution whatever you have designed actually is valuable, it has impact. So to measure that impact, you need to define like matrix. There could be 3 types of matrix that you have to define quickly. The first one is the North Star metric. Just one metric, and that essentially defines that your solution solves for the pain point and achieves the goal. एक ये North Star metric, the only single metric that will help you measure the success, has to be defined by you. Then there could be other supporting or tracking metrics. So मतलब ऐसे मान सकते हैं कि एक biggest metric है let's say revenue, या फिर monthly active users या weekly active users. उसके नीचे there will be certain other supporting या tracking metrics जिसको हम track करेंगे to measure health or success in a way, but they are not necessarily the biggest metric that you should be tracking. Then other one is guardrail metrics. Guardrail थोड़ा उल्टा होता है कि मतलब ओके मैं वीकली एक्टिव यूजर्स तो बढ़ा रहा हूं पर ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. सो यू आर पुटिंग सम गार्डरेल्स इन माइंड, यू आर सॉर्ट ऑफ कीपिंग थिंग्स इन चेक कि अगर ओके वीकली एक्टिव यूजर्स बढ़ रहे बट फ्रॉडुलेंट यूजर्स भी बढ़ने नहीं चाहिए, लाइक फ्रॉडुलेंट वीकली एक्टिव यूजर्स नहीं बढ़ने चाहिए. यू वांट लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल बॉट्स नहीं बढ़ने चाहिए. So that could be like guardrail metric. Just giving an example. So basically you need to define like North Star matrix, you need to have some supporting metrics, and you also have to make sure कि ऐसी चीजें ना हो रही हो that is reflecting the fact that okay North Star बढ़ रहा है but maybe गलत direction की वजह से बढ़ रहा है. So guardrail is for that. Then risks. There could be certain risks. For example, you're trying to improve Instagram stories, right? So उसमें there could be certain operational hassles. There might be certain product related challenges wherein some operations people have to work hard and maybe bandwidth becomes an issue. There could be operational matrix, there could be business adoption matrix, adoption related challenges. ये business दो बार आ गया है, but there could also be tech related matrix, tech related risks. So tech related risks could be this particular solution that we have devised, it's quite a challenging one, so it will probably take a lot of time. There could be adoption related challenges, there could be revenue related challenges, maybe not now because that is not the goal, but in the future. So there could be certain risks in the future जो हमें अभी से call out करना बहुत important है, and so that we can also think about it in that direction and try to mitigate them. You do not have to put a mitigation strategy here, but at least call out those risks. And finally, summary. Just tell कि okay, done, interview done. हमने ये goal लिया था, हमने ये user pick किया था, हमने ये problem pick किया था, और हमने ये solution define किया. And that is pretty much it. And then that's how you can sort of close the round. You can put forward the whole package in a very good way and end the interview. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it. If you like the video, if you like the content, drop a like. If you also liked all of the other videos on the channel, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you.